What's up guys, welcome to Reseller's Life. My name is Chris, thank you so much for joining me. In today's episode, I want to go over the state of eBay, and with all the news going on, I thought that as an influencer, I can give you some ways to handle it and navigate it and actually make the most of today's situation. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, please smash the like button and consider subscribing, because I'm going to give you guys 1 to 3 actionable tips to improve your store every single episode. So let's get straight into it. I want to talk about where eBay is, and for the most part, since I've started doing this in 2017, eBay is pretty much the same. I would say that the main differences are they're really pushing promoted listings. I'll get more into that later. They're moving to managed payments, and now they have offer to watchers. There's not a huge difference in the way the stores are set up. Cassini is relatively the same. That's the search engine that ranks items on eBay. It still favors replenishable items that can be sold over and over again. If you type in calculator, it's going to pop up the one that's the most popular. So that is always going to stay the same. The only difference is really that the promoted listings will also show up there. Now, what I want to point out in the overview of that, eBay is relatively the same, but their revenue has remained the same. So they haven't been investing in a lot of site improvements, which I think is pretty obvious. When the seller updates come in, they're not saying things like, these are the exact infrastructure things that we're changing to make eBay a better site. Promoted listings, I argue, actually hurts the consumer because they're being shown a listing that they don't necessarily want, but someone has paid for that artificial placement. It's kind of driving the prices down because they don't want to waste that traction. They're paying a high promoted rate and giving a good deal to get that customer to actually convert, versus over a best match listing, an item that the customer wants to buy naturally, organically, that's going to get pushed down. So, and also there was the glitch of promoted listings not showing up if people use an ad blocker. But my point is, they put a lot of resources into this promoted listings thing, which doesn't really help the end buyer. It just makes eBay more money because it's an advertising cost. It's another revenue stream for them. So it makes sense. People have been asking for improvements to the listing flow for a long time. But all of a sudden, the promoted listings button is on every single listing. When you scroll to the bottom, it says, how much do you want to promote your listing? And that's a way for them to drive revenue. And the promoted listings page, as far as viewing how promoted listings actually benefit your store, it could be better in my opinion. It does show you actually the traffic changes, and I'll go over into the first thing that I do recommend you do. And this is all based on 1%. So all the tips today are 1% themed. Okay, so for me personally, I use 1% promoted listings. I have tried promoted at a higher percentage. I've tried trending +1, and I look at all the analytics. In May, I did 7% promoted listings because I heard from one of my seller friends who has a really, really high sell-through rate, told me that 7% is his magic number for his category. So I said, okay, let me give it a shot. I had a pretty decent uptick in sales, probably around 20 to 25% more sales, but my eBay bill was $2,500 higher. So I paid a significant amount more in eBay fees to get that extra amount, and it made me think of a few things. One, should I be cross-listing if I play the promoted listings game? Because the money that I use to cross-list, I could use on promoted listings and sell items faster. If I need items that really have the velocity, if I need a higher velocity, maybe I'll just use the money that it costs to cross-list on Poshmark and Mercari to just pay eBay their ransom to get the listings to sell faster, right? So it made me think, I don't want to have a high promoted listings rate and cross-list. I might as well have 1% or no promoted listings and then cross-list if I want that velocity. So it's a game that you have to think about. So what I really want everyone in the group to do, everyone who's listening out there, 1, smash the like button. Number 2, think about what the 1% are doing. What are the people who are really successful doing? And I'll tell you, number 1, above all else, they totally understand their numbers. I've never heard anyone who has a really big store, makes a lot of money, that doesn't know really where all of their money goes. So take some time and really understand what's going on. I was just listening to the founder of Patron say that you want to do what other people are not doing. And what most people don't do is have a great idea of how much money they're actually making in their resale business. This is also the number 1 reason you would get in an argument with your spouse if they're like, you've been doing this store for a while, how much money are we actually making? It's very different than getting a 9 to 5 and you get a paycheck every 2 weeks. At least they know how much money is coming in. So Number one, really focus on how much money you're actually making. That's what the 1% do. Number two, the 1% all have solid routines and habits. My store has listed 30 to 60 items for 7 straight months. If I go on to Instagram or YouTube and look at what normal people are doing, it's like, I did really good today. I listed X amount of items. And I'm thinking, it shouldn't be a performance when you do really well. It should just be your average. If you're counting on performing at a super high level, you've got this backwards because that's not how it works. It's more about consistency. I'd rather you list 5 items a day for the course of a month than 100 items in one day, because 5 items a day is 150 items in a month, and 100 items might burn you out. It might make you hate your life. You might be irritable. What's the point of being super unhappy? So don't make it a performance. Make it something that you can do over and over again, so it's just normal. You may have to build up some endurance by working in chunks of time and just add it. That's why I recommend sets of 15 listings. Sets of 15 listings get you some momentum, and if you feel froggy, do another set of 15. But doing less than 15 makes it hard for you to get into a rhythm, and it's just really hard to keep the process going when you lose momentum. Okay, the next thing they do is they have solid sourcing habits. So I'm getting more and more emails every day of people asking, Chris, how do I find wholesale this or jewelry or whatever? And this is not an easy question to answer because that's what I spend about 4 hours a day doing. One of my good friends that only sells replenishables, which are items that you can order from a distributor or a manufacturer, spends 6 to 7 hours per day on the phone. This is something most people do not want to do. They want to go thrifting, garage sale, whatever, do something the quick way, get that immediate product, and they never build any of these relationships. And you'll see down the road when you meet resellers who've been doing it for a long time with this method, they are almost in the exact same places where they started. And on this channel, it's called Daily Refinement, I actually want you guys to improve over time. So you really need a solid sourcing habit. For me, it's 4 hours per day. I want to work on replenishables, looking at manufacturers, looking at trends. And that really is the answer. Unfortunately, I wish there was a better answer for you, but when you really start looking at a specific product, you start figuring out, where does the product come from? Who normally distributes it? Who are the top sellers on the different sites? Usually, if you can find out who's selling it, you can find out where it came from. That's the best advice I can give to you. Whatever you want to sell, look at who is selling it, find out how they got it. If you were to do some homework and if there was a gun against your head, you would figure it out. You could pay a visit to that person and find out who their supplier is. You could buy a few from them. You could look at different websites and see, are you competing with the actual manufacturer? Usually not. Usually, manufacturers and factories deal with resellers or retailers direct. You just need to figure out a way to become one of those people. Okay, another thing that I've noticed is a lot of 1%ers are not on social media. It's not because, or they don't use social media how you would think that they do. So let me give you guys an example. You become who you are around, right? So when I look at success, this is my definition of success. Profitable, positive people, healthy, right? People who take care of themselves, and happy. Right? That's what I consider success. Happy, healthy, positive, profitable. When I go on social media, this is what I see. I have slow sales. It's generally negative. The people who are posting are generally unhealthy and they don't look happy. Okay, so that is the opposite of who I want to hang out with. So when I'm on social media, I'm actually following people who have a much smaller followings, who are just posting what they do every single day. And that's never going to get the attention of complaining. If you complain, your views are going to skyrocket. That's why I try to be frowning and upset in my thumbnail, but actually I'm really positive. If you're around me, if you actually know me, you would consider me a generally positive person, an optimist. You know, I like this saying, if things aren't going well, it's not the end. And if it's the end, it's not over. I really butchered that. But basically the point of that saying is, you can always improve what you're doing today and slowly climb yourself out of whatever situation that you're in. Now, this is where I would reach out for some professional help. One of the people that I really love is Gary Keller, and he said he found himself in a point in life where he was in an 8-foot hole and he could only jump 6 feet. I totally relate to this. This has happened a few times in my life where here are the bills, and what I'm doing doesn't actually cover that. Okay, that's why I'm so aggressively reducing my overhead, because I never want to be in that position again. My parents were always drowning. They could never make enough money to catch up with their lifestyle. They never had extra. And I don't want to be in that position. So I definitely want people to think, okay, how can I jump higher? You have only the same amount of time. What can you do different to get more results with the same time? The answer I always hear from people is, I'm just going to list more. To me, I'm thinking, okay, you already have a problem listing what you want to list. You're saying you want to list 100 items a week. You're having trouble doing that. Your answer can't be list 200 items if you can't even do 100 consistently, right? You've got to think of a different way of doing it. The one thing that's going to transform you from level 1 to level 2 really is one person helping you. That's the best advice I can give you. Because if you want to work on sourcing for 4 hours or more a day, you have to have a really, really small amount of listing. In my opinion, you really can't list over 5 items and also look for sourcing. It's two totally different skills. And listing is very energy draining. It takes, and if you don't believe that, try listing for more than 4 hours. Anyone who's listening right now, I challenge you to list for 4 straight hours and then tell me that your energy level is higher than before you started. That's not really the thing. Also, one more energy drain that people don't recognize is shipping. Shipping is the least important thing in your store. You have to ship, or your store is closed. It's a given. You have to ship. Most people use their very limited energy on shipping. They wake up in the morning, they ship, they lose an item, they get a little frustrated, and they've used all of their energy and they don't do listing or sourcing. Okay, so you need to manage your energy. Trust me, you'll get your shipping done as long as you still want to have an open store. I ship pretty much at the last possible minute because I know I want to spend the majority of my time working on what's really important, what's going to drive me to the next level. What can I do with the same amount of time and make more money? So my thought on that is, my final thought that I want to leave with you guys is, 1, consider subscribing, because I really do try to bring you guys the most positive information. I actually do not feel like eBay has any kind of power over what I say. I don't work for eBay. I've done stuff for them in the past, but it's always been me volunteering my time. I'll go in there and test a new feature, or I go to some events and hear what the executives have to say, or different sellers. They have no influence over what I say, but I try to present like both sides of the argument. The website that eBay attacked, in my opinion, only presented one side of the argument. That's why I didn't read that newsletter. Sometimes, if you Google something about eBay, that blog, e-commerce bites, would pop up in the search ranking, but usually I didn't read it because it was pretty one-sided. So I like to look at things at both sides and try to get an idea of what's going on. That's how I treat this channel. But the thing that I want to leave you guys with, the final thought is, you want to sell things that people have such a great experience with that they look for the same thing over and over again. This is why the sneaker industry is so powerful. People love sneakers. It reminds them of their childhood. They buy them over and over again. They wear them. They wear out. This is why toilet paper would probably be the king of all replenishables. No one has a warehouse full of toilet paper and thinks, where am I going to find buyers that actually want this stuff? No problem with that, right? If you had gold, no one's going to have a problem discounting gold and getting it to sell. So it's super important, guys, to think about what people have such a positive experience with that they want to reorder again. I would push you away from only selling one-off, unique, rare, vintage, random items like that, not because they're not super profitable. Okay, it's just because there's less people buying them, right? And if you see the vintage, it's kind of interesting. People who are really good at vintage are really good at producing brand new stuff right now that's similar. I would prefer that you do that. If you see a color blocking pattern from the 80s or 90s that was super popular, it would make sense for you to copy a similar style, throw it up on multiple websites, and start gaining traffic from the color blocking search term on your own item. Here's an example. The Tommy Hilfiger flag, very, very popular. I saw a girl make a shirt that said Tommy on it in a totally different font. Okay, Tommy, not Tommy girl, because I believe that's patented, but another word after Tommy. Very similar to the flag, but clearly she changed it enough. I think she sold 700 or 800 of the same style. But on a brand new item. This is my issue with vintage. I love vintage items, but I also like items that are brand new. I prefer to buy new clothing myself and resell gently pre-owned stuff. I personally also go for like last season, so I'll buy something brand new, but it's 2 or 3 seasons old. I feel like there are a lot of people also in that bucket. So guys, hopefully this is positive for you. And when you look at all the eBay news, hopefully you're ignoring it for me. I pretty much unsubscribe to all e-commerce news for the most part, because these websites aren't really that much different. You just buy low, sell high, and make sure you play the game. eBay right now, they're pushing promoted listings. They're pushing managed payments. They want us to use offer to watchers. Offer to watchers to me is kind of a BS program because it's just coming out of my pocket. It's a feature that I pay for out of my pocket to get someone to buy something. eBay didn't make their site better so people want to shop. They want me to pay for the feature. And it's just like, I can just discount the item too. I don't have to do offer to watcher. And that's, again, more time consuming. I'm trying to reduce the amount of time we guys spend. I want you to make the same amount of money with less time, or use the same time and make more money. So guys, love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate everyone's time. I know that your time is precious. Hope you're staying safe out there. Smash the like button and consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell. Make progress daily. Peace.